Welcome to the Artist, Writer, Teller podcast show. My name is Marissa McGarry. I'm your host today. I'm going to be interviewing our good friend Judy Donley, who will be the future host of this show. But we thought it'd be a great way to get started by letting Judy tell a little bit about herself, her experiences, how she became an artist, writer, and teller, and some of her hopes and plans for this show. So welcome to the show, Judy Donley.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful that you're doing this interview.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat a little bit more with you and learn about your story. So I have a little bit of a list of questions here. We'll just have a fun, casual back and forth conversation as we go so the audience can get to know you and your story a little bit better. So let's start with an introduction. Give me a little brief synopsis about who is Judy Donley and how did you end up here in East Tennessee?
Well, thank you for asking me that question. What I usually tell people is I grew up in Massachusetts, and I'm one of 12 children, and I have always done art since I was 7 years old. I used to make these trees and paintings, and my parents signed me up when I was about 10 years old to take some art courses. So they encouraged my talent in art. And then after, I'm number 4 of 12 children.
Oh, wow. What a big family. I bet that was a lot of fun growing up.
Yes. And then after I graduated from high school, I went in the Air Force. And I served 5 years in the Air Force. And then I married my husband, Jeff. And he was in the Air Force when I met him, and he got out, and he wrote me a letter and asked if I would date him if he came back to Plattsburgh, and I said yes, and he came back, and then we were married in 1977.
A true love story.
And yes, it is. We've had an amazing adventure, and he went in the Navy about a year and a half after we got married, and I served I was still in the Air Force, and I joined him in Scotland.
Oh,
so I have had.
I thought there weren't a lot of women in the Air Force at that time, were there?
Not really.
Yeah,
there was. It was changing, but it was still limited women in the Air Force. And now I think about 200-some thousand women are in the Air Force now.
Yeah.
So it's really grown. And we have women pilots in the Air Force now. So I'm really excited about that. And then what brought me here was after my husband retired and we moved to East Tennessee. And it was my 40th birthday. And I always tell people, if life begins at 40, then I'm a native Tennessean.
There you go.
So, and it's been a wonderful place here.
Yeah. Do you feel like our community has a lot of creative, spirited people?
Oh, yes. Many, many, many. This is one of the reasons that drew me to East Tennessee. Yeah. They have the Barber Theater, which isn't very far away. They have the Jonesboro Storytelling Center. There's theaters around here, and I love hanging out with
lots of tall tellers.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
and I have been involved with a variety of groups, like the Lost State Writers Guild, the Northeast Poetry Society, the Jonesboro Storytellers Guild, and the Watauga Valley Art League Guild. I love the arts. And I love to share it with people. And there are some amazing artists and tellers and writers. It's just amazing. And I like hanging out with them.
Yeah. Well, I like hanging out with you. It's fun to hear a little bit more of your backstory as well. So tell me, from a young age, were you pretty creative? How was that fostered throughout your life from childhood growing up, or was it something that you kind of discovered later in life?
Oh, no, I've been dabbling, I guess, in art for a long time. I did get a degree in business when I was in the Air Force through the University of Maryland.
Okay.
I thought it was practical.
Yep.
And I am part practical.
Yes.
And I love adventures. And but when I was growing up, my father, we would sit at the dinner table, and there would be all 12 of us at the dinner table. And my father would encourage us to tell what was going on at school, and not just, oh, it was fine. We had to do some specific things. And my father was a great storyteller. And so we shared stories at the dinner table, and it just really held on to me, and then when I started traveling, people wanted to hear the stories of where I've traveled to, the people I've met, and it just seemed to be really wonderful. And when I came here, I didn't know that they had storytelling on stage. And
you landed in the right spot.
Yeah, and
one of the top storytelling communities in the world.
Yes, and
it's pretty amazing.
I'm so grateful to be part of that.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, Frances Van Landingham, she lives up in Pogie area of Tennessee, and I started writing some of my stories down because people have been encouraging me to do that, and my first efforts were horrible, and Frances called me and told me, she said, "Judy, you're a storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
Tell the stories, and then the writing will come." And I still continue to write, and I still work on it. And I thank Frances for encouraging me. So now I write some of the stories that I tell on stage, and I'm getting better at it, and I'm really grateful.
Oh, I love that. So that kind of brings me to one of my next questions. The name of our podcast show and your website, Artist, Writer, Teller, what does each of those facets mean to you? And how do you express yourself in each of those individually? I think they all interweave, into artistry and the arts. But tell me what you do as far as your art, your writing, and your telling, each of those aspects.
Art, I just like to explore it, but the purpose that I plan on for this podcast is to share my friends that have inspired me, that are artists that I meet throughout the community in East Tennessee. And the writers, of course, I have a lot of friends that are writers, and I want to spotlight them. And then tellers.
Yes.
I want them to be able to. We have a lot of professional storytellers here, and I want to be able to showcase those professional storytellers, and they inspire me. So I want them to be able to inspire other people to do the same thing.
Absolutely. I love that. That's so exciting. Well, why do you think that storytelling is important?
Well, for instance, my father always said that if you don't know family history or your community history or your country's history or the world history, the mistakes and the good things that we have done, we can avoid a lot of things. So if you have done something really good, you want to emulate that. And that's what I want to do. I want to emulate the good things. And the things that don't work, when you get some criticism, don't take it personal. Just learn from it.
Yeah.
And that's really what I'm trying to do is to share, because and also history gives us foundations and the accomplishments of people that have gone before us. And I love history.
Yeah. Literally, our history is stories, right? That's how history's been passed down since the beginning of time.
That's true.
So it's very important for historical records. But I also think storytelling is entertaining. I love listening to stories. I'm a storyteller myself, and the way I like to tell stories is through video, pictures, photography, and music. So I feel like I have, similar to you, where I have a few different aspects of the way that I like to share and tell stories and keep them preserved and keep them going. And it's just such fun to find those connections within other people and see how they like to tell their stories.
And that's why I think that's why I chose you to help me with this podcast. And
Yes.
and I just love being around creative people that smile. I want to make everybody happy. I can't, but I really, that is one of my goals.
Absolutely.
But
I think this show's going to be awesome in all aspects and to help tell some of our other creative friends and their stories. So I'm really looking forward to it. So going on that wavelength, what are some projects that you're working on right now? And what are you looking forward to with all your creative projects that you do?
Well, right now, this year, all my stories are going to be women in aviation history.
Ooh.
And I just got permission to use some of the stories from some of my, some people that, for historical purposes. I think some of the first stories are women in the women air service pilots from World War II.
Okay.
And that's some of them. And there are some women that I have met in my life who are fantastic women in history.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to telling some of their stories and my relationship to them. So that's why I chose women in aviation history this year.
That's perfect. What a great project. What's some things that, looking forward to the next 10 years, what would you like to have accomplished in your creative career?
Oh, gosh, I have no idea.
Or you just take it a day at a time?
Well, I have a 3-year plan for right now to share as many stories as I can, and so that people can enjoy them. And I do have an art show coming up at the Fleshman Gallery in Johnson City here.
Oh, excellent.
In February. The reception is on the 7th of February this year.
How fantastic. And if people wanted to maybe keep in touch with what you're doing, what projects you're working on, where's a good place that they can go to keep up with you?
artistwriterteller.com.
Yes. Website is launching.
Yes.
So that's going to be a great resource for not only this podcast show and the interviews is going to be living on there, but you can also keep up to date with not only Judy's projects, but maybe some other creative happenings in the area and some of our other storytellers and what they're up to and presenting around the area.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share? Maybe some encouragement for whoever's listening out there on, just expressing yourself and the importance of documentation and sharing our creativity.
Well, that is, sometimes it seems daunting to do something that you've never tried before, but you can do in small steps, little things, and it takes a lot of practice. It comes, but don't discourage yourself. When I start doing a new project, like a year ago, I started doing some clay work, and at one of the studios in Elizabeth, and
Yes,
and Made on Elk. And what I do is I take lessons, and then when I do my first piece, I keep it, I frame it, or I put it on a shelf, and then I use that as a reference point, so that as I develop in my new medium, I can see my progress. So the same with writing. You write what you feel, what you see, just use the senses and just write it out. You can make lists. And so it doesn't matter. It's just that you have to practice. And you can take a lot of courses. The ETSU has a course on storytelling. So if you're interested in storytelling, take a course, or take lessons. Don't expect perfection. Even I learn all the time.
What a great takeaway. It's never too late to learn a new skill.
That's correct.
There's things that I want to learn. One of my goals this year is I would love to learn how to make a quilt. So I'm going to probably sign up for some classes at Fletcher's Handmade because I have never made a quilt before. So it's great to find mentors or take classes and things that, sometimes I feel like learning a new skill or craft or hobby is really daunting and you feel like you have to do it all at once. But when you can find a mentor to help you along, I feel like that is the route to go and it helps make it easier.
That's one of the things I want to do is encourage people to continue with the arts. And when I worked as the manager for the flying activity at Fort Meade, Maryland, I had a 78-year-old pilot that was an instructor. And I would go up with him every once in a while as a pilot, you have to have refresh training just to make sure that you don't get rusty on your skills. And he told me that he learns something every time he flies. And so when I run around creative people, I learn something. And I love that. And I also want to encourage people to continue to don't beat yourself down. You can always learn. I'm still learning things.
Yeah. It's never too late.
Never.
Well, what a great takeaway. I hope whoever's listening out there is encouraged to maybe foster a new skill, try something creative. And we hope that you're going to stick around and enjoy more of these podcast episodes in the future of Artist, Writer, Teller podcast show. And thank you so much for tuning in today. Stay creative, friends, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.